went and studied he finished his bachelor's degree in finance at Temple University, and then in 2010 went and started his seminary studies in Najaf. He is currently working with communities all over the East Coast, including New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Alhamdulillah, we're really blessed to have him. So please help me invite him out with a loud salawat.
Someone, please. Yeah. Before we begin, there's a request for Surah Fatiha for the sponsors, the marhumin of the sponsors of tonight's program. Please include in your Fatiha, along with your marhumin, all of the mu'mineen, Mirza Muhammad Qasim, Mirza Abdul Jawad, Mir Alam Ali, Mir Askar Ali, Mir Naki Ali, Hajra Begum, Gohar Sultan, Bilqis Begum, and Kul Arwah al-Mu'mineen al-Mu'minat, Thawab Surah al-Fatiha. Bismillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لكي لا تعسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد. Your second salawat for love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. And your loudest salawat to hasten the master of our time, Sahibul Asri wa Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. In tonight's discussion for the munasabat of the shahadat of our fourth Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, salawat ala Muhammad wa Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. One of the things that we learn is that our Holy Prophet, when he said, I leave behind two weighty things, and this hadith thaqalain reached us, the ta'aqeed or the importance of this association with Ahlul Bayt was given to us as well from the Quran. When the people came to the Holy Prophet and they said, we want to compensate you for what you've given us. This idea of compensating Nabuwat for giving the message of guidance was not something that happened the first time in the life of Rasulullah. Every nation that took hidayat from a Nabi, every nation that received guidance from a Nabi offered the Nabi and they said, you gave us guidance, we want to compensate you, we want to give you something, we want to appreciate you. And every Nabi turned around and he says, we don't want anything from you. I don't want any reward from you. And the Quran dictated some of these events as they happened with Anbiya, that when Anbiya were offered the reward from their community, Allah commanded them, we don't want any reward from you. In this same way, when people came to our Holy Prophet and they said, we want to thank you, we want to appreciate you, we want to give you a gift, we want to take care of your expenses, we want to, all of these different benefits. And why? Why would a community do this? You know, a prophet, when he comes, he takes people from darkness and he brings them to light. He takes a life of existence that exists for people where they don't know what they're doing, why they're here, what their goal of existence is, what their purpose of creation is, and he gives order. He gives structure. He gives purpose to life. He gives instruction on how to live your life. He gives you all of these resources that before you were confused and frustrated. What am I supposed to be doing with my life? Am I just supposed to eat and then die? Eat, live and die, eat, fight, live, die, that's it? And a prophet comes, and what he does is he gives order and structure to your life, and he teaches you that there is a creator. There is someone who gave you this existence. There's a benefit to your existence. There's a purpose to your life. These are all the things. When we follow Islam, one of the benefits that we're getting is we're getting a purpose for our creation. We're understanding the purpose of our creation. When we look at Islam, one of the things that we should ensure that we appreciate about this religion is that it's not simply, for example, a process of committing transactions between people, how to get married and divorced, or what to do in a day-to-day life, or how to ensure that your actions and interactions are correct. Rather, it's the aspect of appreciating that I was created for a purpose, and that there's a compensation for everything that I go through. And when people come to this realization in the life of the Prophet, they come to him and they say to him, "O Prophet of Islam, thank you for giving us a purpose and teaching us our purpose of creation, teaching us the benefit of the fact that we exist and how to approach our Lord and Creator. How can we compensate you for this?" And the reply came from Allah, not from the Prophet. "Qul," say, O Prophet, "La as'alukum alayhi ajran." I don't want any reward for this action that I have done by presenting you and teaching you how to come to Allah. The same way all of the Anbiya made the same statement. But all of the Anbiya, they finished with saying that, "Inna ajri inda Allah," that my reward is with Allah, I don't want it. Our Prophet was commanded to say something different. And the people doubted him in this too. Because when Allah commanded him, "Qul," say, O Prophet, "La as'alukum alayhi ajra," I don't want any reward from you. It continued then. إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى, except to have mawaddat for my family. The interesting part is, and you might have heard this before, in the language of the Eskimos, there's over 50 words for the word ice. Because ice is really important for Eskimos, so they have a lot of ways of describing it. Arabic is a very poetic language and loves poetry. And regardless of what media teaches us here, it loves love. And there are many words in the Arabic language for the word of love. Allah selects a very particular word here. And it's a very significant word. That Allah selects the word mawadda. When Allah says to the Prophet, say to the people, "Qul la as'alukum alayhi ajran," that tell the people, I don't want any reward from you for teaching you about the message of Islam, illa, except mawaddata fil qurba, that you have mawaddat for my near ones, for my family and my clan. The selection of the word mawadda is what's unique in this statement, that this term mawadda that Allah selects, in the Arabic language, in the descriptions of love, there are two things that in the Arabic language that they love to describe, and maybe there are more, but my limited knowledge and association, one is bravery. And the example of bravery that they like to use is the lion. And when they use a lion, there's a word for a lion in every position. When it's sitting, when it's attacking, when it's preparing. There's all of these different descriptions, because when they want to use bravery of a lion and they want to use the lion as the example of bravery, they want to be able to detail any aspect of it. In the same way, they use different terminology for love. And that this mawadda that is used is even till today, if you go and you use Google Translate for mawadda, you'll find that it translates even till today as a crazy kind of love. That when Allah says to the Prophet, tell the people that you want to compensate me for what I gave you, have mawaddat for my family. Have a crazy kind of love for my family. What's this crazy kind of love? One of the explanations that for those of us who Arabic is a foreign language, they wanted to explain, how do you understand mawaddat? So when they wanted to say, how do you understand mawaddat? They said, if we were to explain it to our people, we would say mawaddat is the kind of love a fish has for water. I said, what do you mean? A fish, in the most simplest of terms, right? You take it out of water, what happens to the fish? Dies, yes? You agree? Okay. Today you guys are here, so I'm going to ask you to participate a little bit, all right? Every so often. But it's more than that. Take a fish. Take it out of water. What's the first thing that happens? Dies. You take that fish, you cook the fish. You cook the fish, you use salt, seasoning, however you do it. You cook the fish, whichever way you want to cook it, you cook it. You eat the fish. What happens to the person who ate the fish? They get thirsty. They say the love of a fish for water is such that when I eat the fish, I wind up with a thirst for water after it. That the essence of the fish is attached to so much that if I put the fish a part of me, the thirst of the fish for water becomes a part of me as well. And the explanation comes that that's the kind of love that Allah wanted you to have for the Ahlul Bayt. That even if you were to be separated from it, or even if that was to be that your life is taken apart, that love of the Ahlul Bayt can't be separated from you. The same way, the love of water for a fish can't be separated from the fish. You can eat the fish, but then you wind up with the love for water, or the need for water because of it. This fundamental is the reason why when, for example, we have these nights of shahadat, it's important that we build a relationship and we associate with these personalities. That love for these personalities means that we change our day-to-day behavior and our characteristics out of their love. That our attributes, our material, our priorities shift when the priority of the Ahlul Bayt comes. Now, part of that love is true love does not come without understanding or recognition. For example, if I say that I love, for example, a basketball star. LeBron recently came to California. It's been a big deal. If I was to say, and I wouldn't, but let's just say, I said that I love this sports player. I love this guy and the way he plays basketball, and I love what he does. You would say then, oh, so you must know everything about him because you love him. You know all of his stats and all of his figures, and you know where he's played, and you know what he's done. You know the number of jerseys he's worn, what year, what, and so on and so on. And the person would say, yes, as a reflection of my love, I know all about this person. I know everything he's done. The question comes that if we have mawaddah for Ahlul Bayt, do we know them? Do we have a relationship with them? Have we understood them? Do we know their attributes? Do we know the lessons we learned from them? Have we developed a relationship with this personality? That if I was to say I love this personality, I could prove it through my words and actions by knowing about them? Now, and we haven't even gotten into, we're going to get into this in a minute. I want to build up why this conversation needs to happen. When I say I love this personality, there's two ways of learning about this personality. One is a linear fashion. When we talk about loving the Ahlul Bayt and knowing the Ahlul Bayt, one knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt is the chronological knowledge that comes of the Ahlul Bayt. What I mean to say is I look at them in a linear fashion, that this, after Rasulullah, I learn about the life of Rasulullah, then I learn about the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen, then Sayyidah Fatima, and until Imam Zaman. I know the year they were born, I know the year they were died, I know some of the history facts that happened in their lifetime, all good and valid and important points of information. And sometimes we think when I've developed this kind of information and knowledge, I've learned about the life of the Imam and what the Imam taught me, and this is sufficient for me. However, one of the things that we learn as we spend time with these personalities is that there is more to learn about them than simply the chronological history that came with them. What do I mean? What I mean to say is that there are two ways of studying science and history and information that we have, and one is simply that we take a look at one subject and we analyze the subject and then we move on to the other. And then the next, and then the next, and then the next. The other way we study these things is we put them together and we see the correlation between the subjects, we see the correlation and we look at them in a collective of information. The same is true of the Quran. When we look at the Quran and we have tafsir of the Quran, where our ulama have taken the time to take the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt and lessons from the Quran and give us an explanation. Typically when we think of tafsir, what we do is we think about, okay fine, we start from Bismillah, Surah Fatiha until Surah Nas, and we follow verse by verse by verse by verse, and we have a conversation and we learn about these verses, and there you go. I have studied the Quran. The same way we think about the lives of the Ahlul Bayt. I start from Imam Ali and I go to Imam Zaman and I study about their lives. The other way of studying these is what's called tafsir mawdu'i or tarikh mawdu'i, or the study by the subjects. What that means to say is there's one benefit that I gain from studying each verse one after another after another after another after another. There's another benefit when I take all of the verses that pertain to one subject and I analyze them together separate from everything else. The same way when it comes to the life of the Ahlul Bayt, there's one benefit I gain by looking at the life of each individual Imam individually, and I see what they went through, what happened to them, and what their experiences were. There's another benefit that I can gain from the study of the lives of the Imam when I take one subject and I see how each Imam behaved with it and put it all together and create one unified image. I'll give you an example. Do you guys want an example? Is it clear, or we don't need an example? We need it. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This study of the lives of the Imams by subject, if you were to take a look at it, take a look at as an example, as a very brief example, look at the lives of the Imams in dealing with a Khalifa, dealing with a governor or a king who was put into authority and has stolen the right of Ahlul Bayt. And you start seeing differences in behavior. You see, for example, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he abdicated his khilafat and made a treaty and walked away from Muawiyah. One way of dealing with the king of the time. You see, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he refused to give his support to the Khalifa and he fought the Khalifa of his time. Keep going further. Look at the life of Imam Sadiq, who abstained from government entirely and focused on his teaching, had no relationship or dealing with the governor until the governor forced him to, the Khalifa forced him to. Look further. Look at the example of Imam Ali ibn Musa. Imam Radha became the Naib of the Khalifa, the successor of the Khalifa. If I was to take a look at this in completely linear fashion, I would say that there is conflict between the ideology of A'immah alayhimus salam. That one Imam makes peace, one Imam fights, and another Imam becomes the successor of the Khalifa. We would say there's conflict, that the ideology of the Imams was different, that they didn't agree and they didn't work together. This would be false. Rather, what we would do is we would take a look and we would see that if we were to understand, and this is where it comes back to that understanding, that each Imam and his behavior was not a reflection of his personality, but rather the Imam's behavior was to deal with the problems of the time and protect the message of Islam. When I come to the understanding that the message of the Imam and the purpose of the Imam is not to show his personality and his actions, but rather to deal with the difficulty of the time and preserve and protect the message of Islam in that time, I now start taking a look that Imam Hassan alayhi salam, when he makes peace, the only way to preserve the message of Islam in that situation where the mu'mineen are refusing to stand up and fight the oppressor is that you have to make peace with this individual. That the situation when it changes to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the person who is taking the khilafat is someone who is so vile that he will destroy the message of Islam, that the only option any Imam would have in that situation is to fight. And then we take a look at another situation, where the situation of Imam Radha, that had Imam Hussein been in the position of Imam Radha, he would not have selected fighting, he would have done the same action as Imam Radha. Because the actions of the Imam are not a reflection of their individual personality, but rather are the way to protect the message of Islam in the difficulty that they see in their time. This is a very important concept, because sometimes what happens is, as a community, we look at an Imam and we imagine that his behavior is his choice, his preference. And na'uzubillah, some personalities even make this accusation about Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. Imam Hassan was an intellectual, docile personality, therefore he made peace. Hussein ibn Ali was an angry personality, na'uzubillah, and he was confrontational, and therefore he chose to fight. But the truth is, an Imam, by the nature of the fact that his responsibility is to protect the message of Islam, there's nothing that comes before the protection of the message of Islam. So the actions of an Imam reflect the environment of his time and how best to protect the message of Islam. You guys with me? We're okay? Now let's take a look at our fourth Imam, Ali ibn al-Husayn, Sayyid al-Sajideen, Zayn al-Abideen, alayhi salam. This personality is one who is often accused, na'uzubillah, of having had his character broken by the event of Karbala. One of the splits in history that we see comes from this time period that after the event of Karbala, that some personalities developed the opinion that to be the Imam of the time, you have to be confrontational to the oppressive powers that exist at the time. And some people, they came to the conclusion, they said, Ali ibn al-Hussein does not stand up to fight, therefore he can't be the Imam. Ali ibn al-Hussein has been broken by this event, there's no way Imamate could go to him. And some people started following Muhammad Hanafiya. Some people started following Ali ibn Zayd. And these other personalities, and we see these breaks start to come up on the fundamental that they say that Ali ibn al-Hussein na'uzubillah, couldn't be the Imam. Because he was weak. He was silent. He didn't act. But if we go back to the fundamental of understanding that when an Imam is appointed by Allah, the Imam's personality plays no role in his decision of how to deal with the time. Rather, the Imam selects the useful needs of that time and fulfills those obligations to ensure that Islam is protected. It gives us a different view of this personality. If Imam Zainul Abidin was quiet, it was not because he wanted to be quiet, but because the protection of Islam mandated it. One of the primary examples, and another example, you guys are good? We're okay? Is the difference, for example, that some people, when they want to explain this point, they go through it by explaining the difference between Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What I mean to say is Imam Sadiq, we're known as Madhab Ja'fari, because we learned our madhab from the teachings of our sixth Imam. Our sixth Imam spent his life where he would have at times over 4,000 students who would sit before him, and he would teach over 14 subjects. And he taught all of the fundamentals of how to derive the process of knowledge and laid the foundation upon which our fiqh, our jurisprudence is based. And the argument comes that Imam Sadiq was the teacher and he spent his time teaching, and Imam Hussein was the revolutionary and Imam Hussein spent his time fighting. And I say no, rather, had Imam Hussein been in the time of Imam Sadiq, he would have done the same thing as Imam Sadiq, and had Imam Sadiq been in the time of Imam Hussein, he would have done the same thing as Imam Hussein. How? We see that in Islam, in the general population of Islam, that people take the example of what Islam wants from them from the first three khulafa. And they included the actions of the khulafa into Islam. To the extent they even included the actions of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan Mal'un into the laws of Islam. And they said, we perform this action today because Na'uzubillah, Muawiyah performed it, and therefore he made it jaiz for us to perform. And the Khalifa became someone who had the ability to change and re-establish the laws of Islam that were initially established by Rasulullah. When someone like Yazid wanted to take the seat of Khilafat, and Yazid was someone who openly drank, who openly sinned, who openly fornicated, who did all of the things that Islam forbade, Imam Hussein had to stand up and say, one like me does not do bay'ah of one like him. Had Imam Hussein not taken the stand and the Sunnah had now shifted to the position that the Khalifa can impact it, all of a sudden things like drinking, they would have said, oh, we can drink now. The Khalifa drinks, we can drink. Because he did it publicly. Fornication, oh, he fornicates, we can do that. All of those public sins that Yazid was performing, Imam Hussein's goal was to separate religious authority from the kingship of the Khilafat. And the only way to do that was the fight in Karbala, to demonstrate that someone so vile who does not protect the blood or consider the sanctity of the blood of the family of Rasulullah, how can you give him authority over your religious affairs? And we see after this inflection point, the authority, religious authority of the Khulafa is separated. They start to keep wazirs, they start to keep leaders of the various madahib and religious scholars in their court, and they refer to them for religious instruction as opposed to saying, I said this, I am the source of religious instruction. The same way, now look at the life of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. What happens during the time of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq is all of those companions who had lived with Rasulullah are dying. They're gone. And after them, the tabi'een. The tabi'een were the people who didn't meet Rasulullah, but they spent their lives with the companions of Rasulullah. They're dying. They're gone. As long as these people were alive, when a Muslim accepted Islam and had a question about how do you practice Islam, they could go to the Sahabi and the Sahabi would say, I saw Rasulullah do this. And they say, okay, then we'll do this. Or a Tabi'een would say, I saw the Ashab and companions of Rasulullah behave this way, so we should behave this way. But during the life of the 5th and 6th Imam, all these people started to die out, that now the Muslimin, when they had a question about Islam, there was no one to ask. So Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq established the fundamentals of education and teaching at that point in time to educate the people that when you have a question about Islam and you don't know how to answer it and there's no physical example of what the Prophet did in his life, let us teach you how to learn and what the example of the Holy Prophet was. So we see the teaching of the example of Imam Sadiq or the fighting of the example of Imam Hussein was not their personality coming forward to say, this is what I want to do. Rather, it was the reaction and the result of the time that they lived in that forced them to save Islam through these actions. Which becomes now, this is how we want to understand. Now when you look at the biography of these A'immah alayhimus salam, now when you study about these Imams alayhimus salam, you start learning that what they were doing was they saw the needs of the time and they created the perfect modules to help save the people and give them the tools of that time. And this becomes important for us to learn why. Because in our time and in our generation, we have to look for the example we need to implement in our time so that we know which example of which Imam to follow so that we can learn from him about how to resolve the conflict of our time. Now look and understand that my 4th Imam, after the event of Karbala, what was the situation he was in that he demonstrates for us that should you find yourself in a situation similar to me, this is how you protect your faith and this is how you keep your faith alive and you keep connected to the religion of Islam. We see the Khilafat of Yazid ibn Muawiyah Mal'un lasted for a period of 3 years. In the first year of his Khilafat, he's responsible for the murder of the family of Rasulullah. In the second year of his Khilafat, he's responsible for laying siege to the city of Medina. And he sent his army to the city of Medina in an event which is known as Waqi'at al-Harra, the event of Harra, in which he sacks and he sends his soldiers to sack the city of Medina. The soldiers of Yazid in that second year behaved in such a way in the sanctity of the city of the Holy Prophet that they said that the people out of fear from this army went to seek sanctuary next to the grave of the Holy Prophet. And there was no sanctuary to be offered. That the people were attacked as they sat next to the grave of the Holy Prophet. There are narrations that tell us in the year after the event of Harra, over 1,000 illegitimate children were born in the city of Medina. This is the second year of his Khilafat. The third year of his Khilafat, Yazid ibn Muawiyah sent an army to lay siege to the city of Makkah. And in his third year, as his army laid siege to the city of Makkah, they shot catapults at the Kaaba and actually lit the Kaaba on fire and hit it with catapults. The demonstration of why this is an important point to know and what's going on is that essentially in this phase, the Khilafat laid out very firmly in front of society that there is nothing that has sanctity against the hand of the Khalifa. There is nothing that will be respected or preserved if it opposes the Khilafat of the Khalifa. Not the children of the Prophet were considered safe because they stood against the Khalifa. Not the city of the Prophet was considered safe when it stood against the authority of the Khalifa. To the extent where Yazid ibn Muawiyah, why did he lay siege to the city of Medina? Because they refused to give bay'ah to him. So he not only took the bay'ah that he forced them after he sacked the city, he says, now you have to submit yourself to my authority. He went further, he says, now you have to claim and you have to give bay'ah that you are my slaves. So the city of the Prophet, the grave of the Prophet, no sanctity. And the Kaaba, which is the house of Allah, Baytullah, has no sanctity in the eyes of the Khalifa. His enemies sought sanctity in the province of the Kaaba. So he says, what Kaaba? And he destroys even the Kaaba in his interest of attacking his enemies who are based there. The significance of these events tells us that at that time, where the power that be had no value and had no interest in appreciating Islam, the Imam still has to protect and preserve the message of Islam to get it to the generations that come afterwards. How does an Imam do that? Where if the Imam raises opposition and there's no sanctity for his life or for the message of Islam, that people could attack him and that people could destroy and wipe out the messenger and the grandson of the messenger of Allah. So the Imam, when he's silent, when he's quiet, or he appears to be quiet, the Imam is not being quiet. The Imam is preserving the message of Islam. Now, understanding that this is the background that leads to the Imamat of our fourth Imam, there are 5 lessons that I want to discuss with you from the life of our Imam, and we'll do them briefly because the introduction took some time to get to. You guys are still okay? We're awake? All right. The Imam's responsibility is to teach the message of Islam and to educate the people about what Islam really is, regardless of this environment that he has been placed under, where the oppression, if he's seen as teaching Islam or seen as defending Islam against the Khalifa, would mean instantaneously the wiping out of the grandson of the Prophet. So how does the Imam do it? And we'll mention 5 ways in which the Imam did it, 5 lessons that we learned from him. The first one, you're with me, right? We're good? All right, 5 points, 5 salawat, all right? First salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The first lesson we see of how this Imam protected the message of Islam is that the Imam teaches us, do good with no expectation of return. One of the things that very often happens is that when we perform an action or a good deed, we have this desire that people should acknowledge or appreciate us. That people should appreciate the effort that we've exerted and the good deed that we've performed in giving them something that's beneficial to them or doing some good deed. Sometimes, for example, we give someone charity. And we give him, for example, we go through our wallets, we pull out $5 and we give them $5. In the back of your mind, you're like, I gave him $5, that's great. And the person looks at it, $5, huh? Did you see the car you're driving? $5 is what you're going to give me? You see your phone? All $5? We see that the person receiving that item has no appreciation for what we're giving him. He's looking and he's comparing, that's all you did? Can't do more? Come on, buddy, what do you got? The expectation we have is that if I gave you something, appreciate it. I did a good deed, acknowledge me. Be happy with me. Treat me well for what I've done. This is where the question comes, why did we do the good deed? Who are we doing a good deed for? If the good deed is that Allah rewards us, why am I expecting people then to appreciate me and to be happy for me and to be thankful to me? But if I'm doing this good deed for the people, then I have a right that I should be upset they didn't appreciate me. One of the most important things that we have in our life is that we need to ensure that the actions that we do are for the sake of Allah and not for people. And there are examples of this. There are examples, for example, our 6th Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam describes 2 people who will be disappointed on the Day of Judgment. He says one will be the scholar who will come before Allah on the Day of Judgment and Allah will open his book of deed and say, you have earned nothing, go to hell. And the scholar says, Ya Allah, I sacrificed for you. I gave everything away for you. I lived in poverty. I spent my days and nights studying Quran and teaching people. I put up with the nonsense of the people. And Allah replies, you did all of that. But you didn't do it for me. You did it for your fame. You did it so that you would be raised in the eyes of people. That people would stand up when you walk into a room. That they would respect you and treat you well. And I gave that to you. The people appreciated you. They were happy with you. You received your reward from them. Now go to hell. The other one, Imam Sadiq explains, is that who was killed in the battlefield of Islam. That the shaheed will come. Shaheed, we say, shaheed, shaheed, go straight to heaven, no questioning. The shaheed, when he comes before Allah and wants his reward, Allah says, there's nothing here for you, go to hell. And the shaheed says, Ya Allah, I killed myself for you. I went to the battlefield, I orphaned my children, I widowed my wife, I gave up everything I had for you. And Allah says, no, you didn't do it for me. You did it so that people would consider you to be brave. You did it because people would consider you to be a leader. You did it because you wanted to be a hero in front of people. I gave you that. There's no reward for you with me. Go to hell. The significance of why Imam Sadiq mentions these two people, the scholar and the martyr, is that these are two of the highest things that we have within the religion of Islam that you can dedicate your life to attain the reward from Allah. But if your intention is wrong and you do it for the sake of people, even someone who gave his life in his process of studying for Islam or gave his life in the process of dying for Islam has no reward with Allah if it wasn't done for the sake of Allah. So how can you imagine that if I give charity and I'm not appreciated, that Allah will still reward me if I'm waiting for the appreciation from people? How can you imagine that I do an action that I get frustrated that people did not acknowledge me and Allah will still reward me? Our goal in this life is when you do good deeds, don't announce it. Don't wait for people to appreciate it. Forget about the good that you do. Do it and walk away and look for the next better thing that you have to do. Don't wait that someone will appreciate you. That aspect of life of waiting for appreciation is that now that you're not waiting for Allah to reward you, you're waiting for people to reward you. That intention becomes so important. And now look at the life of Imam Zainul Abidin. Imam Zainul Abidin was a person who used to, after the event of Karbala, feed the needy of the city of Medina in such a way that he used to take care of over 100 families and provide their sustenance every night. Even that doesn't give sufficiency of describing how Imam Zainul Abidin used to perform this action. There was a cousin of Imam Zainul Abidin, and this cousin would come to Imam Zainul Abidin when he would be in the markets, and he would announce in front of the people, he would say, "You see this man? This is my cousin. He has the wealth of Nabuwat with him. He is the leader of the Banu Hashim. But he has money and I don't, and he doesn't take care of me." And he would openly criticize Imam Zainul Abidin, and Imam Zainul Abidin never once said a statement to him. Never once agreed or disagreed with him. He stayed away from the matter entirely. This man criticized Imam Zainul Abidin for years and years in a public arena. And then when Imam Zainul Abidin became shaheed, he learned that the one who was giving him money every night and bringing food to his door every night was this same cousin of his that he was criticizing for his entire life. And Imam Zainul Abidin, even though he knew, I'm the one who's helping you. The reason you have a house today, the reason you have food in your mouth, the reason that you're healthy is that at night I'm the one who comes to your door and puts that food there. And now in front of the entire community you're going to come and criticize me? Imam never says anything once to this personality. Someone mistakenly criticizes us in a public arena. We say, "Let me fix you, I'll tell you. Let me tell everybody what you are. You think you're going to talk bad things about me? You don't know what I know about you. I've seen everything. I've been following you on Instagram since before you were a Muslim." All this nonsense comes out and we'd feel obligated that we have to reply to this individual. How dare he chastise my personality? But the lesson Imam Zainul Abidin is teaching, he's teaching you. He says, don't expect any return from people. Don't even let them know the good that you do. Keep it for between you and Allah. They describe that when Imam Zainul Abidin would go and leave food at the door of these families that he took care of every night, when he would leave their provisions at the door, he would hide his face as well as do it in the darkness of night. He says, I don't want it to happen that by chance someone comes to the door and sees me, that they have some embarrassment in their heart that they're receiving aid from me. And I don't want it to happen that I have some pride in my heart for helping them in the middle of the night. So let them never know that it was me who helped them. The example of Imam Zainul Abidin, they say, of all of the Aimma alayhim salam, the one who resembled Imam Ali alayhi salam the most was Imam Zainul Abidin. And which is why, after the shahadat of Imam Ali, the poor of Medina, of Kufa came out. They said there was someone who would take care of us, and it's been 3 days since someone came to help us. And then Imam Hassan revealed, he says, this was my father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, who would come to your doors and give you your needs. The same way Imam Baqir, after the shahadat of Imam Zainul Abidin, says, the people came into the streets. They said, we are frustrated. One would come and give us our provisions in the middle of the night. He doesn't come anymore. And then Imam Baqir explained the same way. He says, this was my father, Ali ibn al-Husayn, who would take care of you. And now that he has been martyred, there is no one here for you except for me. So the first lesson we learn is the Imam is teaching in his own life that even if you are restricted, when you do good, Don't expect anything in return from people. It will keep you away from the reward that Allah has ordained for you. If our reward is with Allah, then we want no one from humanity to be forced or expect any appreciation from them. Yes, now if you appreciate someone who helps you, that's a part of Islam as well too. You should appreciate someone who helps you. It shouldn't be that, you gave me, give me more. You have to. No, appreciate them. But if I'm the one giving, my expectation is not that I should be appreciated. The second point we learn from the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Treat others according to your character, not according to their character. What does this mean? This means that at times, for example, especially in the society we live in, when we go to work or we go out and we have interactions with people in the West, it may happen that a conflict arises or some disagreement arises, and this person starts using foul language at me. I start using bad words when they speak to me. Sometimes what happens is your reaction is, you're going to curse at me? I know better ones than you know. And we start to curse back at them. Or we respond to them in like. And the justification we have is, he spoke to me that way, so I'm going to talk to him the same way he spoke to me. Islam doesn't believe that. Islam says, if I have character of nobility, I will act according to my character and who I am. You can speak to me however you speak to me, but I will not drop my standard in my communication with you. This is Islam. When you make the claim that I am a Shia of Ali, I am a follower of Madhab Ja'fari, I am the follower of my Imam, it demands a certain character from you. Our sixth Imam used to say, he says, if there is a town of 10,000 people and even one person has a better character than our Shia, that person is not my Shia. The best of character within a society is what's demanded by the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. What that means is, it doesn't matter how somebody speaks to me or how they behave with me, I have to maintain the dignity that is reflective of how I identify myself. If I identify as a Shia, my actions have to reflect the behavior of a Shia. And how do we see this? Look at the example of our fourth Imam, Marwan ibn Hakam. Remember in history, who is Marwan ibn Hakam? When Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan Mal'un dies, the letter comes to the governor of Medina, take the bay'ah from Hussein ibn Ali. The governor replies, my character is not strong enough to take the bay'ah from Hussein, so he calls Marwan ibn Hakam to be his assistant. And the famous conversation that comes from Marwan is, if he doesn't give you his bay'ah now, strike his neck, because if you don't take his bay'ah today, Hussein will never give you his bay'ah. The personality that forced Imam Hussein to leave the city of Medina was this Marwan ibn Hakam. After the Waqia of Karbala, when the people had an uprising against the Banu Umayyah, one of the ways that the Banu Umayyah tried to consolidate power was they threw Marwan ibn Hakam out of power. They said, we have nothing to do with him. We didn't do this. And they disassociated from Marwan. As soon as they disassociated from Marwan ibn Hakam and he didn't have the government's full power behind him, he knew his life and his family was in danger. He knew that any moment they could come and they could kill him and they could do anything to him because the government won't stand behind him. He doesn't have an active army behind him. So Marwan now, he needs to leave and flee from the city of Medina. But to flee with women and children, his wife and his children, is a difficult task. So he says, I need to go find a place of security for my family, and in the meanwhile, I need to put my family in a secure place that they don't get attacked. He comes to the door of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. He knocks on the door. This is the man who's responsible for the Waqia of Karbala, and says, "O son of Rasulullah, my family is in difficulty. I need assistance. Can I leave them with you?" Now, if the character of the Imam is to reply in kind, the reply in kind is what? You want me to help you after you took the security from my family and forced us down the path that led to the murder of my family and led my women into the courts of Yazid? You want me to give you security and protection now? You want me to protect your women and children after what you did to our women and children? Well, what does the Imam do? Imam says they can stay here as long as they want and grant security to the family of Marwan ibn Hakam. This isn't it. Hisham ibn Ismail was the governor who was then put in place in the city of Medina. Hisham ibn Ismail was a notoriously vile individual who caused as much problems as he could for the Ahlul Bayt, and specifically for Imam Zainul Abidin. And for the Shia of Medina and those people who did dislike the authority of the Banu Umayyah, he used to torture them and give them difficulty. When the uprisings were happening against the Banu Umayyah, at one point in time, this Hisham was deposed from the city, from the governorship of Medina. Now when Hisham is deposed, all of the people of Medina say, finally this tyrant is off of our necks, now we're going to kill him. And they say, wait, the one he tortured more than any of us was Ali ibn al-Hussein. Let Ali ibn al-Hussein Zainul Abidin take his revenge first, and whatever remains after that is for us. So what do? They take Hisham and they corner him in the city. They bring him into the public square and they hold him there. And they say, now go bring Ali ibn al-Hussein. And they bring Imam Zainul Abidin and they wait. That once Imam is done with him, we'll have our turn with him. And look at the beauty of the Imam. The Imam teaches and he sets the example. You want to know the character of the Ahlul Bayt? This is the example. The man who tortured Imam, tortured the family of the Imam. When Imam comes and he sees the mob that's gathered around him and is waiting to attack him, the Imam proceeds in front of the mob, walks up to Hisham, and says simply this, "Oh Hisham, if you find yourself in a state of need, don't hesitate to ask us, we'll help you." And the Imam walks away. He diffuses the entire situation with this one phrase. The Imam is showing. He says, if you think in your life you've gone through difficulty, if you think in your life you've gone through problems, and at some point in time you get the opportunity to extract your revenge, look at the example of Hussein ibn Ali. Look at the example of Ali ibn al-Hussein. We behave by our character regardless of what the person deserves. We behave by a character above the character of the individual who comes to us, because our character doesn't change, though the questioner may be evil. Do you want another example? I have one more. You do? Are we awake? We're good? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A man comes to Imam Zainul Abidin and says, Yabna Rasulullah, I have performed such acts that Allah will never forgive me. And Imam Zainul Abidin replies, he says, who's greater, the sin or the creator? He says, Allah is greater, but Allah will never forgive me. Imam Zainul Abidin says, why won't he forgive you? And the man says, I have committed some sins. I have committed some sins that are so vile, I'm certain Allah will never forgive me. So Imam says to him, he says, never lose faith, never lose hope in Allah. Ya'as. Ya'as is to be hopeless. To become hopeless in Islam is min gunahan kabira, from the big major sins. Never lose hope in the mercy of Allah. One of the mistakes that we see children make sometimes, or young men say, is like, oh well, I'm going to hell now anyway, so. This is a big sin. To say this and to lose hope that Allah would not give you His mercy is a major sin. So the Imam says, never lose hope in the mercy of Allah. The man says, but oh son of the Prophet, I was amongst the killers of your father, Hussein ibn Ali. Can I be forgiven too? Can I be forgiven? Imagine the audacity of the individual. That he comes forward and he comes and he seeks assistance from the man. He says, I was amongst the army that killed your father. Even this, can this be forgiven, Yabna Rasulullah? And the Imam replies, even this can be forgiven. And this is where it gets important. He says, recite Salatul Ghufayla and Allah will even forgive this sin from you. Salatul Ghufayla is a 2 rakat mustahab namaz that we pray between Salatul Maghrib and Salatul Isha. The importance and the significance, imagine how great of a sin we could have, how bad of an action we could have committed. But the Imam is saying, even if you are amongst the killers of my father, Allah can forgive you if you seek wasila through Salat al-Ghufayla. Look at the character of the Imam. He has the knowledge, he has the ability to guide. Even though this personality is not deserving, if any of us, we meet one person who said something bad to my father for years, I hold a grudge. This was a man who killed his father and Imam is teaching him the path of Hidayat. Now, there's a conversation that continues in this hadith and we'll mention it very briefly. The narration continues that, for example, say that Zainab sends a complaint to Imam Zainul Abidin and she says to him, oh my nephew, he kills our family and you teach him Hidayat? And Imam Zain al-Abidin replies, "Oh aunt, it is our job to teach hidayat, but we also know who will listen to our hidayat and who won't." So simply because you, and this is really significant, simply because you know the prescription to protect yourself from the punishment of Allah, you have to take the prescription too. It's not enough that you simply know what you have to do, you have to perform the action. That's why these actions are very important. They can protect us even from these great sins. So we see the second lesson that the Imam is teaching us in his lifetime through his example is interact with people based upon your character, not based upon their character. They may be lowly, they may be evil, they may do bad things, but that doesn't mean you get to change your character and not behave according to the status and the nobility that you have. And each of us has the nobility of love of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Third point, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's getting a little bit late. Are we okay? No, because we can continue tomorrow. Or you guys, we're okay? All right. We see the third lesson we learn from our Imam is to recognize and see the decree and the will of Allah in every affair. When we look at this point, we see that, for example, sometimes it happens, and we started this conversation yesterday as well, about talking about the idea that sometimes when we go through difficulties in life, we see it either as punishment, or we see that Allah doesn't like us, that's why He's giving us difficulties. We bring a variety of different reasons that kind of lower our self-esteem and make us feel like that Allah is singling us out and punishing us and giving us a difficult time. The life of the Imam is a lesson in teaching that this isn't how we should approach life, that rather we approach it with patience and we become extreme. We go way, which is why Imam Zain al-Abidin, for all that he went through, he never at any point in time did he make other people suffer the consequences of his actions. Nor did he abuse another personality, nor did he cause harm to another person in this process of going through life. Our fourth point, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The fourth point we take a look is we see that from the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin, he teaches us that no matter the difficulty you go through, there is always hope in Allah. Our Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has a hadith where he says, "Alaykum bi aslah al-anbiya." I enjoin upon you, my ummah, to use the weapons of the prophets. وَمَا هُوَ ذَلِكَ? What is this? What is the weapon of the prophets? الدعاء هو الأسلاح الأنبياء. That supplication is the weapon of the Anbiya. Imam Zain al-Abidin, when he's in this environment that we talked about, in a political environment that prevents him from teaching and educating society, prevents him from raising his voice amongst the people to teach them and set an open example of in front of the enemies of Islam how to behave as a Muslim, how to behave as a follower of Rasulullah. When he's restricted, he comes through the door of supplication. He says, if you won't let me speak to the people, I will speak to Allah and tell the people. So the communication the Imam prepares is the process of dua and how to ask Allah, how to use the weapons of the Anbiya in society. Look at how powerful these du'as are. Now it's 50 years ago. When my teacher told me it was 40 years ago, but now it's 50 years ago. One of the sheikhs of Al-Azhar wrote a letter to the ulama of Najaf. And he said, I have studied your history and I see who you call your imams. I understand all of them, but this personality, Ali ibn al-Hussein, I don't understand why you made him your imam. All he did was cry. Why did you make him an imam? They said that this alim from Najaf, all he did was he took Sahifa Sajadiyah, put it in an envelope and mailed it off to this guy. He didn't write anything else. And eventually the Shaykh from Al-Azhar writes a letter back, and in this letter he writes, he says, I did not know who Allah was until I read this book of Ali ibn al-Hussein. That when they tied the hands of the Imam from teaching the public in society, the Imam went and spoke to Allah and educated all of humanity about Islam and what is true Islam through the art of supplication. And he gave us weapons. Look at the life of the Imam. There's no one who suffered more drastically in his life than the Imam. Yet the Imam never loses hope, and what he does is he prepares a book of prescriptions. He says, whatever situation you're in, There is a dua for it, and I will give you the weapon of how to approach Allah and ask Him. When Allah says, "Ad'uni astajib lakum," call upon me and I will answer you. When a man or a person, there's women too obviously, when a person is in a state of frustration, is in a state of difficulty, they want to ask Allah for assistance. How do you talk to Allah? The Imam taught us. There's a narration about the Sahifa Sajadiyah, the book of Imam Zain al-Abidin, or the book of Imam al-Sajjad, that says that Allama Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, the father of Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi, who wrote Bihar al-Anwar, his father was also a great scholar of his time. And he says that Allama Muhammad Taqi Majlisi says, I had a dream. In my dream I saw the Imam of our time. As I was speaking to him, I was getting close to the end of my conversation, so I asked him, Yabna Rasulullah, why don't you give me a prescription? Can you tell me something that I should hold tight to in this time? Something that will benefit me in your time of ghaibat. You're not here, I can't talk to you. What's a good thing that I should hold on to? What should I command the people to hold on to so that they don't become lost in this time? And when they need assistance, there's some source of assistance for them. And Imam Zaman says, go to Tajuddin and ask Tajuddin for a book. Tajuddin will give you something, and use that and keep the mu'mineen close to this book. And the lengthy story comes that Allama Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, how he goes through, because Tajuddin was not a name that was known. He had to find the personalities known as Tajuddin, or the crown of faith, and find the personality. And eventually when he figures out, when he's hopeless, he sits in a shop with a person, and that person's title is Tajuddin. He says, but I don't know you by this title. He says, yes, this is one of my titles. And this man turns around and hands him a book. And the book that he hands him is Sahifa Sajadiyah. This Sahifa Sajadiyah that we have in our hands today is the one that was printed by, say, Allama Muhammad Taqi Majlisi by the instruction of Imam Zaman. And Imam Zaman said, in your time, if you're going through difficulty, this is the resource that will help you through your time of difficulty. Never lose hope in Allah. Never lose hope in the difficulty you face, which is why this book was given to us. The du'as of Imam Zain al-Abidin are designed that he says, look, you may face whatever challenge you face in life, let me teach you how to resolve that challenge. Let me teach you the words that you need to know. This book of dua is so powerful and so useful. This, along with the 15 munajat of Imam Zain al-Abidin that are included in Mafatihul Jinan, along with dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, along with dua Abu Hamza Thumali, all of these du'as that the Imam gave us, that this Imam in particular gave us, are weapons for us, that they resolve all of your issues, to the extent where Imam Sadiq says, he says, don't teach all of these du'as and these a'mal to everyone. He says, because even an unjust person can reach the fulfillment of his desires through these du'as. Right? The difference between a dua and a munajat is something that's a whispered prayer. It's a private communication between you and Allah. It's something that's private and secret. A dua you can recite in public. Sometimes you can take people, when we recite dua kumail, we do it in congregation, that if my dua is weak, maybe somebody who's sitting with me, his dua will be answered, and because we're making dua together, Allah will accept all of our duas. But a munajat is another type of communication. That's a private communication. Imam gave us all these tools. Take a look and see. You have a problem in rizq, there's a dua for it. You have a problem of fear in the environment you live in, there's a dua for it. You have a problem with your children, there's dua for it. The dua for your children, Sayyid Sistani Hafidhahullah has a conversation. He says the best thing you can do for your children in this country is ensure that you continue to recite this dua and don't separate from it. Make sure you recite this dua that Imam Zain al-Abidin gave to us in Sahifa Sajadiyah. It's that significant and powerful. My recommendation, what my teachers taught me, and what is a good thing to do, is go find Sahifa Sajadiyah and every day recite one dua. Take 20 minutes. Recite it in Arabic, then read it in English. The English translations these days are very good. Learn about this tool so that when you find yourself in difficulty, you know where to go, you know what the prescription is. Build a relationship now that you can benefit from it. But never lose hope, because Imam is teaching, whatever your problem is, I'm giving you the prescription you need to answer that problem. Whatever state of difficulty you live in, here's a solution for you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our final point. You're with me? I've taken a lot of your time, but by the barakat of the shahadat of the Imam, inshallah, may the Imam accept our majlis. And may he entitle us to his shifa in dunya and akhirah. The final lesson that we see that we want to discuss, and there are many, there's over 20, but I've selected 5, is the Imam's teaching of staying attached to the weeping and the crying over Imam Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam. You see, the masa'ib that Imam Zainul Abidin faced in his life were sufficient that you could say that it would be worthy to cry over what Imam Zainul Abidin went through. The waqi' of Karbala was one day. The masa'ib of Sham, of Kufa, and of the years of Imam Zainul Abidin's life were very long. But the Imam insisted that you stay attached to the difficulties and the masa'ib of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Stay attached to the weeping of Imam Hussein. Now, when it comes to the crying over Imam Hussein, when we say, for example, that this is a revolution and the revolution of Imam Hussein is still alive, there are 2 meanings to this. One is the apparent and external meaning that talks about the idea that every Shia who loves Imam Hussein lives his life in the example that where he sees injustice, he stands against it because of the sacrifice we learn from Imam Hussein. This is a very legitimate thing that we always stand against the oppressor, and in the coming nights, inshallah tomorrow night, we'll talk about this relationship of standing against oppression and the coming of Imam Zaman. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, inshallah. One of the open meanings of this is exactly that the open revolution of Imam Hussein was the aspect that everyone who loves Imam Hussein should stand against oppression. The other individual revolution that exists within the waqi' of Karbala and the remembrance of Imam Hussein is the tears that you shed for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Inna liwaladi al-Husayn fi qulub al-mu'minin hararatun lan tabraduha abada. Our Prophet used to say that certainly in the hearts of the believers for my Hussein is a fire that never goes out. This remembering of the masa'ib of Imam Hussein, remembering the cause of Imam Hussein, this weeping over Imam Hussein brings about a revolution in your heart. That every time you cry for Imam Hussein, something inside of you brings you back to Allah and separates you from difficulty. Remember the statement of Imam Ali? Hearts do not harden except for the drying up of tears. And tears do not dry up, or tears do not dry up except for the hardening of hearts. Hearts do not harden except for the excessiveness of sins. That when we get lost in this dunya and in this world, and we become people who commit mistakes and violate the rules of Allah, our heart hardens and we start to think, so what if I did this action? People have done much worse than me. So what if I made a mistake? Others have done worse. At least I'm not as bad as them. But when you cry over Imam Hussein alayhi salam and this heart of yours opens up, you come back to Allah and this revolution reawakens in your heart that you want to be a good person. There is no one who weeps in the majlis of Imam Hussein except that when he leaves, his desire is to be a better person. And this is the teaching of Imam Zainul Abidin. Never separate yourself from this weeping, because when you separate yourself from this weeping, that revolution inside of you can die. That aspect of your personality that you always want to be a better person can go away. Don't let that go away from you. Stay attached to it. And look at how my Imam taught this. When they describe, they say, Al-Bakkaun Khamsa, that there are 5 individuals who are the criers in all of humanity. The first of whom is Adam alayhi salam. That after Adam was cast down to the earth, he wept for forgiveness from Allah, such that he wore away his cheeks, and the cheeks of the flesh of his cheeks was worn away by the excessiveness of his crying. And he became known as one of the criers in the history of the world. The second, Imam Sadiq is explaining. He says, Yaqub lost one of his 12 sons, and he cried so much that he lost the vision of his eyes. That Yaqub cried so much, and his son was alive, but he wept so much he lost his sight. The third was Yusuf, that son that Yaqub lost. When you hear the story of Nabi Yusuf, when he was cast into prison, the prisoners used to complain, Yusuf weeps so much we have no peace. There is no comfort for us whenever Yusuf cries. The crying of Yusuf is so much, please ask him to stop. that Yusuf alayhi salam, for the condition that he was in and the difficulties of separation from his family and being cast into prison unjustly, made him weep in a way that the prisoners used to cry because of his crying. Imam Sadiq says the fourth of the criers is my mother Fatima Zahra. Fatima was the one who would weep in such a way that all of Medina would become uneasy by the crying of Fatima Zahra. They complained, the people of Medina went to Ali ibn Abi Talib and they complained, "Oh Ali, Fatima cries day and night. And we have no relief from her. We can't find comfort because of her crying." One of the other miracles of the weeping of Sayyidah Fatima, after someone passes away, the crying begins at a peak and goes down. But the masa'ib of Sayyidah Fatima were such that her weeping after shahadat of Rasulullah only increased and increased and increased, to the extent where Amir al-Mu'mineen said himself, "I was forced to make for her a hut outside of the city, away from all of the people." Fatima would in the morning take Hassan and Hussein by her hands and go out to this hut behind Jannatul Baqi, and she would cry there so that the people would not be disturbed by her weeping. When Amir al-Mu'mineen said to Fatima, he said, "Fatima, they complain about your crying." She said, "They killed my father and they won't even let me weep over him. Oh Ali, how unjust are these people?" Sayyidah Fatima is the fourth of the criers in this world. The fifth of the criers, Imam Sadiq says, was my father Ali ibn al-Husayn Zainul Abidin. He wept for 35 years. And he wept in such a way, when you go to Medina, inshallah, you'll see there's a place between Jannatul Baqi on your right side and the Haram of Rasulullah, Masjid al-Nabawi on the left. My teacher describes, he says, it's as if we can see Imam Zainul Abidin today. He would wander in this area between Baqiyah and the grave of Rasulullah. When foreigners would come and they would see a man worried wandering through this area, they would say, "Who are you and what do you want?" He says, "I am Ali ibn al-Husayn. I am looking for someone to sit with me and cry over my father with me. Will you not weep over my father with me?" When Abu Hamza one day comes to Imam Zainul Abidin and he sits with Imam Zainul Abidin, he says, "Yabna Rasulullah, death is the habit of your family and shahadat is the honor of your family. Why do you still cry then?" Imam Zainul Abidin says, "Yes, shahadat is the honor of my family. But oh Abu Hamza, the burning of our tents was not the honor of my family. The stealing of the hijab of our women was not the honor of my family. The trampling of the body of my father was not the honor of my family." Imam Zainul Abidin taught us for 35 years that we should cry for Imam Hussein. How did he teach us? See him when he walks through the market and he sees a sheep about to be slaughtered. He says to the man, "Wait, did you give this sheep water before you slaughter it?" And they would reply, "Yabna Rasulullah, we follow the sunnah of Rasulullah. We give a sheep water 3 times before we slaughter it." Imam Zainul Abidin would turn in the streets to Karbala. "Baba, they give sheep water 3 times before they slaughter it. Baba, they treat the animals better than they treated you. Hi Baba, they killed you thirsty and alone." Imam Zainul Abidin taught us to weep for Abu Abdullah. But our Imams Masahib are great themselves. When my Imam became Shaheed and his body was taken for the ghusl, the companions around Imam al-Baqir, they said, "We see some things on the body of your father we want to ask you about." He says, "What is that?" He says, "We see the calluses on his knees. He was Sayyidus Sajideen. We understand he prostrated a lot. But we also see calluses on his shoulders. What are these calluses from?" He says, "If my father was alive, I would never tell you. Every night my father would wander through the streets of Medina helping the poor, and these calluses on his shoulder are from carrying of bags of food to help the people every night." They said, "We have another question for you. What are these marks we see on his legs and the marks we see on his neck?" Imam al-Baqir, how did you reply? "These are the remainders of those shackles they tied on my father." How were those shackles tied on your father, Imam al-Baqir? Imam Zainul Abidin, when he came to the city of Sham, one of the companions came and he says, "I am a lover of your father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Oh my Imam, command me for something." Imam says, "Go and buy for me some cloth and bring it to me." The man replies, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, if I give you for hijab for the women, they will take it again. He says, no, this chain is eating away at the flesh of my neck and I can't take it anymore. Bring for me some cloth that I can place between my neck and this shackle. These were the marks on the body of Ali ibn al-Hussein. When Imam Zainul Abidin was in the marketplace of Sham, there is a description that says that the people of Sham had no idea who this was that was being brought to them, so they tortured these people. One of the descriptions says that they threw stones at the head of Imam Hussein. Kulthum could not bear it, that an old woman came with a hunchback and she picked up stones and threw it at the head of Imam Hussein. Kulthum turned and she says, "Oh woman, have you no mercy? Do you not know this is the son of Zahra? My brother was killed thirsty and alone, and you throw stones at his head." Kulthum, you could not bear this. The description in history says, when Ali ibn al-Hussein would be taken through the marketplace, they would throw stones at Ali ibn al-Hussein. They would throw garbage at Ali ibn al-Hussein. They would throw burning trash upon my Imam in the markets of Sham. Such were the masayib of the Imam. Look at when he returns to Medina, and this will be the final point that we mention, and that's it. You've cried for my Imam, inshallah, may Allah accept. Imam Zainul Abidin says, we won't enter the city of Medina. Let the people of Medina come and pay their respects to us outside of Medina. He set up a tent, the women sat inside of the tent, and Imam sat on a chair outside of the tent. Eventually the people of Medina came out. They came out, and with a gruff behavior, they looked at this man sitting in a chair, and they said, "We don't want to see you. Where is the son of Hussein? We've come to pay our respects to him." Imam Zainul Abidin looked up from the chair and says, "Do you not know the son of Hussein, that I am the son of Hussein?" The people screamed in reply, "We sent you as a young man. We see your back bent. We see your hair white. We see you as an old man, Ali ibn al-Hussein. Why did your condition change so much?" He says, "Hi, had you been whipped the way I have been whipped, had you been hit with spears the way I have been hit, had you witnessed your family murdered in front of you, you would understand what one like me has gone through." Such was the condition of Imam Zainul Abidin, that when he enters the city of Medina and he goes to leave Sayyidah Zainab at her door, he says, "Auntie, it's time to return you to your house." The nephew and the aunt, they go to the house of Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Imam Zainul Abidin turns and says, "Aunt, I bid you farewell. Our affair is finished now. We have fulfilled our test." Zainab turns and she says, "Oh Sajjad, after all we've been through now, you want to leave me too? Hussein left me. Akbar left me. Sakina left me. You're leaving me too." Imam Zainul Abidin turns and hugs his aunt, and they begin to weep over the masa'ib they've passed. In their state of weakness, they sit down on the stoop of Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Abdullah ibn Ja'far returns home. He sees the two aunt and nephew crying on the doorstep. He turns to his children. "Children, did I not tell you, when a beggar comes to our door, don't wait for me. Give them and send them away." Sayyidah Zainab says, "I am your wife Abdullah, and this is your nephew Zainul Abidin. Have we become so lowly we look like beggars?" ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون ندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. 10 times raise your hands. Ya Allah, 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 Ya Allah. Ya Mahmud بحق محمد يا أعلى بحق علي يا فاطر السماوات بحق فاطمة يا محسن بحق الحسن يا قديم الأحسان بحق الحسين. Oh Allah, accept this small ibadat from us. Oh Allah, forgive our sins and cover our flaws. Oh Allah, there are those who have gathered here with hajat. By the mention of Ali Muhammad, fulfill the hajat of the mu'min. Ya Allah, there are those amongst our community, our families, and the mu'mineen around the world who are sick. By the mention of Bimari Karbala, give shifa'at to all of the mu'mineen. Oh Allah, there are mu'mineen suffering around the world. Please give aman to all of the mu'mineen wherever they may be. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of Sahibul Zaman. Oh Allah, make us and our children from the upright supporters of Sahibul Zaman, and give us shafa' of Imam al-Hussein in Akhirah. Matam Hussein.
Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Hussein, Hussein, King of martyrs. Hussein, Hussein has been slaughtered. Hussein, Hussein, true believers. Hussein, Hussein are his weepers. Hussein, Hussein, King of martyrs. Hussein, Hussein has been slaughtered. Hussein, Hussein, true believers. Hussein, Hussein are his weepers. Here I lie, Ya Mawlai, run to me before I die. Oh my uncle, there's my blood. Oh my uncle, there's my blood. Let me see you one last time. As I'm leaving, going further, I'm seeing your murder. I am seeing your murder. I'm a martyr sliced for you, to be sacrificed for you. Oh, there will be pains for you when no one remains for you. Hussein, Hussein, King of martyr. Hussein, Hussein has been slaughtered. Hussein, Hussein, true believers. Hussein, Hussein are his weepers. Hussein, Hussein, King of martyrs. Hussein, 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 his weeper. Why the pain, Ya Hussein, while we die upon this plain? Where's Muhammad? Where is Qasim? Where's Muhammad? Where is Qasim? Your soldiers so young have been slain. All the loved ones that you've carried, all the young ones you've buried, all the young ones you've buried. Now you've witnessed all your sons swear to you by the Quran, we will serve you on and on. Hussein, Hussein, Hussein John. Hussein, 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 weepers. Hussein, 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 Hussein are his weepers. Abbas, Ya Abbas, Abbas, Ya Abbas, Abbas, Ya Abbas, Abbas, Ya Abbas. Oh flag bearer, where's your hand? Is it bleeding on the sand? Will Sakina understand? You were loyal to her command. Oh flag bearer, where's your hand? Is it bleeding on the sand? Will Sakina understand? You were loyal to her command. Hussein, Hussein, King of martyrs. Hussein, 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 his weeper. Hussein, 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 weeper. Now it's done, all is done. Hussein, you're the only one. Here comes Shimmer with his sword. His shadow blocks the setting sun. Is there no soul that will serve you? Master angels don't deserve you. Is there no soul that will serve you? Master angels don't deserve you. Hussein, who will help you now? It's not true, God won't allow him to kill you. Why and how? Oh, you to whom the angels bow. Hussein, Hussein, King of martyrs. Hussein, Hussein has been slaughtered. Hussein, Hussein, true believer. Hussein, 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 Hussein.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله وخاتم النبيين، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء، السلام عليك يا 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري وحجة الله يا ابن الحسن يا صاحب العصر والزمان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك والأنصارك والمستشهدين بين يديك. All together. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله